Ladies and gentlemen, we've done it. We have made it through the Formula One winter break. Testing returns this week. Well done, everyone. We got through it. Pat yourselves on the back. But first, before we jump into testing on Wednesday, and also I probably should just plug the F1 Word. I'm going to be joining him Wednesday afternoon on both weeks of testing, helping him out with his testing streams. He's going to be going through a hell of an ordeal doing streams morning and afternoon for every single day. So go and show him some love. I really would appreciate that. But yes, I'll be joining him on both Wednesdays. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are talking about this. The FW42 Williams' Formula One 2020 car. I feel like I've said this all week long, but I'm going to say it again. I am not an engineer head. I am really not technical whatsoever. So apologies that I don't know the intricate details of this car. And also, again, just because I've got to say it, this is not the car we will see racing in 2020. It's very, very similar, but it is still a bit of a hybrid car. They're still going to hold parts back and try and not give them away to competition. And even though it is Williams, who have struggled over the last few years, even they will be hoping they can make a jump forward and don't want to give too much away in that midfield. So, of course, my focus, design. I love it in Formula One. I don't shut up about it in Formula One. And last year, I think one of my most vocal statements is that I absolutely despised the Williams livery. I could see where they were going, and I think that's why I hated it so much, is that they weren't a million miles away from something quite nice, if that makes sense. But the biggest issue for me was the incorporation of ROKiT, who I think have really helped out the team. They've also been able to help out Venturi in Formula E, and whilst they are a bit of an unknown brand, that's a brilliant opportunity for them to become known to the public, to raise awareness, to get a sponsorship in Formula One, so it's working both ways. So actually, I've got no issues with ROKiT whatsoever. It's just, I feel it was a little bit rushed last year, and the gradient effect wasn't doing me any favours. I think that car itself was a bit all over the place in terms of what parts were going on the car, weren't going on the car. So I think as the car design evolves, I don't think the livery quite evolved with it. So this year, we've got this. It's much, much better. It is much, much better. Thank you, Williams, for sorting out most of the issues you had with last year's car. This looks like a car that could fight for some points. And again, looks don't equate to pace, but have you ever seen a bad looking car win the World Championship? I think that's the kind of saying people go with. White. A lot more white in this year's design. They had some last year, but it was more 50-50 white, 50-50 blue. Most of it is white this year. We've got a bit of blue, much less blue than last year's car, and we've got a hell of a lot of red, which I was not expecting. Williams famously did run a red car in the 90s, the late 90s, wasn't it? 98, I believe. They ran a really nasty looking red car, more of a burgundy orange looking thing. Not nice at all. I believe this is the first time they've gone back to red since that one season, and it's not dreadful. It's really not. I'm glad they have still kept a bit of blue. I think if it was white and red, I would have been a little bit disappointed, because already I'm getting vibes of that Venturi in Formula E. Very, very similar side pods with that giant red stripe with the ROKiT logo. Likewise with the rear wing. Formula E, it's a little bit different with the rear wing, but it's given me big vibes of the Venturi. But saying that, I think the blue is really, really different. I absolutely love what they have done with the halo. This has been one of the things that I think teams have really struggled with this season, last season. But I think actually Williams, especially on the shot with George Russell on the circuit, I think they've done that really, really well. I can't quite tell if it's a matte blue. On the circuit, it looks like it is. On the renders, I'm not too sure, but we have seen in 2020 already teams going for a bit of a mix on terms of different paints and different aspects they've been using on cars. So from the naked eye, it kind of looks like a blue matte and then a white and red gloss, which I quite like that bit of a mix-up. And actually, George Russell's helmet, which seems to be very similar to last year's helmet, looks so good in that car. I really like it, Williams. You've really surprised me this morning. I didn't expect to have a livery reveal so early on, but this was a nice surprise to wake up to. It's still not my favourite livery on the grid. I think part of me feels because I've seen it with Venturi, I've seen it a little bit before, but it's smart. And I haven't said that for a while with Williams cars. As long as the car doesn't look too out there, as long as it's minimalistic, smart, you're going to win me over. I also like, and Lyle pointed this out from the F1 debate show, I like the fact it's red, white and blue. And Williams really trying to refine themselves a little bit. I know that sounds a little bit woke for Formula One, but I'm trying to refine that identity. And although it's not a massive step in the right direction, it's a little step. And we got to give them something. And you probably would have seen from my own predictions, and also you will see this in Chainbear's predictions in a few weeks when I join him on his channel once again for the 2020 predictions. I've got a good feeling about Williams this year. And although last year I loved to joke about them, I think we could change that around this year. I've got some good feelings for them. So, there's not really much else to say. It's a pretty straightforward car. It's a major improvement from last year. It's smart, and that's all I really want. Lots of white cars on the grid this year, which I'm going to be slightly nervous about, but I'm sure once we get on the grid in Australia, we'll feel a little bit different about it. So I wonder if a few cars will change things up slightly. I don't think they'll have to too much, but that will be interesting to see. Rating out of 10, you know, when I first saw it, I probably would have given it a 5. Having now seen the shots actually on the circuit, I think I'm going to give it a 7. Maybe that's a little bit low. It is quite bare, it is quite minimalistic, it's not out there, they're not pushing any boundaries and really going for it, but it's a strong design. So I'm happy with a 7. I still haven't rated half the car, so I'll do that at the end of the week. But I'm really liking a lot of these 2020 cars. I don't think there's any so far I dislike. One more this afternoon in form of Racing Point. Then we've got the 2 official car launches of Alfa Romeo and Haas on Wednesday. Alfa Romeo, we still don't know what their car's going to look like, so that's going to be a little bit of fun. But of course, that day is testing. Also, just to leave you on this, Williams are there. We've got the shots in this video. Williams have made it to testing. Thank goodness. They weren't able to do it last year. Progress is being made. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Just I was going to say a quick one. It's longer than expected, but I gave them so much hate last year. It's nice to actually be kind to Williams in 2020. If you're new around here, testing. It's going to be covered on this channel. I'll try my best to keep you up to date with everything in the world of Formula One throughout 2020. Thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.